And welcome to a holly jolly, assuming you're adequately inebriated, edition of the Oddity Archive. The show that's more fun than a tangled wad of C9s. Largely because just about anything is more fun than that. Well, I think we can all agree that this year has sucked hairy reindeer balls. I'm just assuming they're hairy. And the cynic in me says that next year is going to be even worse. So I guess it's appropriate that I have what is definitely one of our more deep-hurting Christmas specials up my sleeve.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Anyway, I've got 2 LPs and 2 VHS tapes to cover today, and let's start with the albums. And indeed, let's start with what is easily today's least worst thing. So in Christmas episodes of yore, I've covered the odd album cashing in on the mega popularity of Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. Well, I found another one of those albums, but this one is unique in that it predates the actual Herb Alpert Christmas album by 4 years. And so with that, today's first album is Jingle Bells from the Mexicali Brass. And this was first released in 1964, but this is a reissue from 66, and the only real difference is the cover. But I'll show you the original cover during the montage, and something tells me the cover might have been a little too hot for 1964, but I think we'll get away with it okay now. But anyway, this album is the product of one of the truly legendary cheapy labels, Modern Records. And I mean the original one, not the later Stevie Nicks one. But Modern spawned a bunch of sub-labels, but the biggies were Crown and Custom, and both of which are now very much staples of the Goodwill bin. But anyway, this album is noteworthy in that it's been issued on both Crown and Custom, and this copy just happens to be on Custom. Now, as far as the music here goes, unlike the other Herb Alpert knockoffs I've covered on this show, yeah, those are kind of cheesy fun, but this thing is just kind of clunky and malformed, and the band sounds like it's about to fall asleep half the time, which I guess is kind of appropriate. I mean, this is cheapy Labelsville we're talking about here. Just to put this in perspective, all but one of the tunes on this album are ancient public domain tunes. And they were ancient public domain tunes back then, too. I've got a little history lesson for you here, and I'm sure you're just heartbroken. But anyway, today's second and final album comes to us from I guess you could say an artist that I've threatened to cover a couple of times now. So this one comes to us by way of one Marcy Tigner, a trombonist turned singer who struck pay dirt by turning a liability of hers into an asset. And, of course, as I said, she was a trombonist, and she was a perfectly good, solid one, but she wanted to sing. And it's just as well, because I don't think too many people consider the trombone to be a lead instrument. Certainly not something that too many folks would go to a concert just to see. But as it turned out, her voice was the problem. And this is what really surprised me, because I always assumed this voice was just a character, just pure affectation. But the more I've read on her, the more it appears that this really was more or less her natural singing voice. And of course, if you had a voice like this and you went up on stage as an adult and just as yourself, you'd probably get laughed right off the stage. So, and here's where it really starts getting weird, at the behest of the then teenage future Miss America 1965, this was only about 1960 here, she encouraged Marcy to go have a wooden ventriloquist's dummy made. And that's exactly what Marcy did. She never did learn ventriloquism, but she just used it as a puppet. And through that little puppet, I guess you could say, she created the character of Little Marcy, a role she held from 1961 to 1988.
I don't have to wait until I'm grown up to be what Jesus wants me to be.
As you could probably tell, Little Marcy was a lot more fun in person, or at least on video. But alas, there is no known Christmas time footage of Little Marcy. As such, we're just gonna have to use our imaginations for this one. So with that, today's second and final album is Christmas is on Its Way with Little Marcy from 1969. Now, in case you haven't gotten the hint yet, Marcy Tigner was very deeply religious. But strangely enough, for the small handful of Little Marcy albums that I've come across over the years, this is far and away the least overtly religious one that I've come across anyway. And so the bulk of this album is really just Little Marcy and that squeaky, pitchy voice of hers running through a couple of original secular tunes for one, and a handful of ultra-common standards, and the more religious ones among them are so common and so standard that they've long since transcended their origins, and then just a few really overtly religious deep cuts. Be prepared for some serious sugar here, kids.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming. The party lights are being strung.
The mistletoe is being hung.
Christmas is on its way.
You can hear the sleigh bells ring.
Evening rhythm to the carols that the children sing. They're getting ready for the date when everyone will celebrate. Christmas
is on its way.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings to you wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. I see the colored Christmas lights as I walk down the street. I see the windows all dressed dressed up is such a lovely sight. But the nicest things I've ever seen are the colored Christmas lights. Colored Christmas lights. Colored Christmas lights. Oh, what pretty pictures are the colored Christmas lights. Gone away is a bluebird, here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. While shepherds watch their flocks by night, all seated on the ground, the angel of the Lord came down, and glory shone around, and glory shone around. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Come on, boys and girls, you sing it with me this time. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Over the summer, I put out an archive thrifting episode in which I hit the first decent VHS haul that I've had since I've lived here. And if you saw that video, you know exactly what's coming next. Santa Claus presents A Children's Christmas, hosted by Santa himself. Now, this one was made in 1995 and was released in 1996 by really legendary budget video distributor Good Times. And indeed, this hits both of the main targets of most Good Times titles: public domain stuff and ultra cheap new stuff. Now, to my absolute shock and amazement, this thing has been reissued. It's been on DVD and it was on Amazon Prime. But as of my making this, the DVD has been discontinued, though you can still get it pretty cheap. And unfortunately, the Amazon Prime stream is just no more. And I think I might know why. There's one or two potential legal snags in this thing. But anyway, getting back to that thrifting episode I did, in that episode I joked that the guy playing Santa here looked like he had just stepped out of one of the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies. And I need to stop making jokes like that, because they keep coming true. And damn right I'm talking over this one.
FBI! We know you're copying Santa Claus Presents a Children's Christmas in there! Open up!
Yes. I remember when cable TV used to illegally air bad VHS public domain compilations allegedly hosted by Santa Claus. I tell you, it was a freaking plague. But just the one holiday. The one unspecified holiday. Ooh, Platinum Series. Does that mean I get a higher credit limit and a lower APR? I could really use that around the holidays. Sandy Oliveri and Paul Harris present one ultra sweet tax write-off.
Up in the heavens, far out in space.
Oh yeah, these are the times that I love to present these things with the overscan intact.
Also known as St. Nicholas.
What the hell is this thing?
Everywhere. But let's move in for a closer look. Come along.
Santa, camera 2, Santa.
Welcome to Santa's workshop.
In West Patterson, New Jersey. I'm not joking.
So busy getting ready for that very special day. Ho, 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 ho. Now,
Hey, my chair is moving. Stop! Oh, thank God.
just check my list and see who was naughty or nice. So happy to see that almost all my children were good, especially you.
From my vantage point, he just pointed to my evil wooden drag queen Santa decoration.
As an extra special,
Great, I'm involuntarily moving again.
some of my favorite holiday stories.
Black Christmas, Christmas Evil, Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Reindeer of all. Oh, that's right. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer.
And you know why his nose was red, right? Blood. Lots of blood.
Story? Well, once upon a time, all the other reindeer made fun of poor Rudolph, and they wouldn't even let him play with them.
And they must be punished. Punished!
Happened.
Merry Christmas, Daddy.
What Warner Brothers intends to do to me over that clip.
Do you like winter? I do, especially when it snows. I love snow
Especially the Colombian kind.
all year long up here at the North Pole. You know, boys and girls, even the animals in the forest.
The annals in the forest?
Here, I'll show you. Watch this. Ho, ho, ho.
What, watch your fake beard shift? And Pandora's box opens again.
Brr, it's getting cold here at the North Pole.
Well, if your workshop actually had a freaking roof!
Who really likes cold weather? My old pal, Frosty the Snowman.
Man, I don't care what your dealer's nickname is.
It needs to stay cold so he doesn't melt. Well, I'm going to show you a story of what happened to Frosty when he decided to see what it was like to live in the summer.
It's the jolliest snuff film you've ever seen. Sweet dreams, and Merry Christmas, kids.
Wasn't that silly of Frosty?
Yeah, stay in your lane, Frosty. Don't you dare think outside the box, said the box guy.
Frosty came back as a snowman the very next winter when some nice children put him all back together again.
Then he got knocked down by some punk-ass teenagers. Winter Wonderland my ass.
Take my pal Princey, the Christmas dog.
Boy, did I take a bath on the merchandising for that one.
3 little puppies, especially just before Christmas.
I think Santa's sedatives are kicking in.
Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Oh, look out for that imaginary speed bump there, Santa. It's a doozy.
Ho, 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 ho! I had so much fun sharing all those Christmas stories with you, but now I have to get back to work.
The lathe in Santa's workshop needs sharpening.
So many great presents to deliver. Now let me see. I wonder which one is for you.
I'll just pick the first one you see. Of course, why would I expect otherwise?
So be good.
Or not. It'll still be an empty box anyway.
Most of all, remember, Santa loves you.
Especially with barbecue sauce. I mean,
Oh, you better watch out. You better not cry.
Santa, the music industry doesn't care if that song's about you. They're still gonna expect you to pay royalties.
Down. He's making a list, checking it twice.
Hoping Blitzen doesn't play nice.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Oh, typical. farmed out the ending to cheap Mexican labor. Working on our sleigh moves.
Merry Christmas, everybody! Merry Christmas!
Yes, I do expect you to believe that's still me. Hey, if you were dumb enough to buy this tape, you'll believe anything. Ho, ho, ho. Ah, yes, the slow motion sneezing into place transition that was so popular back then. Well, I think I've got the perfect cap to a perfectly crappy year with today's second and final video. Now, 3 years ago, I covered the unholy trifecta of the first Jingle Cats album, the thankfully only Jingle Babies album, and the related and quite rare Jingle Babies video. Well, today I've got the one item, effectively the one item, that I couldn't cover at the time, just because I couldn't find a copy. And that would be the also quite rare Jingle Cats from 1999. And this thing's been remade now, I think twice. But having said that, this isn't even the original. In my researching this, it turns out that the original Jingle Cats video is from 1995, and it's called The Jingle Cats Sing Meow of Christmas. And I cannot find a copy, a real hard copy of that thing anywhere at any price. The only place I've seen it is on YouTube, and even that appears to be a later revision. But having said that, there is plenty of overlap between that original video and this one. So anyway, I kind of wonder if Mike Spalla isn't eventually going to put out some mega box set with all the Jingle Cats variations. And there I go getting into the finer points of the Jingle Cats. I think my brain is fried. But anyway, if there's any kind of Yuletide miracle to all this, it's that the Jingle Cats video is nowhere near as bad as the Jingle Babies video. If anything, as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of endearing by comparison. And I think I know why. And I mentioned this 3 years ago when I did the Jingle Babies video. When you've got an album where the main voice is a bunch of crying kids and you try and make a video of it and you have to film a bunch of crying kids, well, they're not going to look too happy. But in the case of cats, cats have two expressions: indifference and contempt. And I will happily take indifference and contempt any day over distinctly unhappy crying children. But anyway, let's end this Archivian year on a distinctly psychedelic note with the revenge of the Jingle Cats, now with accompanying visuals. Most years I have some little Christmas bonus lined up for you for the end of the Christmas special. I mean, usually I'll find some album that only had one noteworthy tune on it or one appropriate tune on it, and I'll close on an excerpt of that. And it makes a nice little final insult of sorts. But given everything that's been going on in the world over the last year, and given that as of my making this, it shows no signs of slowing down at all, it just didn't seem right. And I wanted to hopefully do something that, if only for a brief moment, might bring a little peace in my own little backwards, twisted way. But I couldn't quite escape the whole metaphor thing. So here's the deal. A couple years ago, when I first came to the Current Archive HQ, in the intro to that first episode, there's this little bit of footage of a waterfall. And it's only about 15 minutes away from me. But around the holidays, the city goes in and spruces it up and the area around it, and it becomes our little town Christmas display, our little holiday display. And so I thought I would take us on a little field trip there so we could take a look at it. But even that couldn't escape some of the metaphorical strangeness of the year. For one, normally by this time of year in this part of the country, we've got some snow on the ground. And really, the look of this setup kind of hinges on there being snow on the ground. It's kind of an Arctic motif. But we have had snow this year, but it was some time ago, and it's long since melted, and it's just brown out there. And the extended forecast doesn't show any snow coming up, so I kind of had to settle for this. So what we've got is really a clash of brown, barren earth and semi-tacky lighting. And just going with that, the lighting is kind of alternately classy and tacky, and that also kind of describes the clientele that goes and checks it out. And hopefully you're getting my drift in terms of metaphor here, polarization. But anyway, not trying to get political there or anything. So with that, that is it for today's archive. And actually, that's it for me for the year 2020. So I'm going to be handing over the reins to my old ex-Soviet DJ buddy Sergey for a little New Year's shindig next week. But I guess the only thing left for me to say is, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and so on and so forth. I'll see you again in January.
I need you tonight.